It was 2 a.m. and all around me was pitch black. I was 200 feet below ground in a god-forsaken place called the Hellfire Caves. I could barely see my hand in front of my face and the chill cut right through me. Then, from deeper down inside the cave, I heard a deep, dark voice ring out, and so I froze. "Hello?" I shouted. "Is anybody there?" The moan rang out again. I inched forward, deeper into the darkness and deeper into the caves. "Who is it?" I yelled once more, and the voice returned, and this time it was much closer. I could make out the words. It said, "Please stop." I walked towards the voice. Again, "Please stop." And so I stopped, and I heard a movement directly in front of me. With all the strength I could muster, I slowly reached out my hand, and with my fingertips, I felt an icy cold shoulder. The figure turned towards me and, as my heart pumped violently against my chest, let out an ungodly
Hello, welcome to my show. It's called Ain't Afraid of No Ghost. I'm going to start off by just saying something obvious. I am a massive geek. This is what I got made for the show. This is actually what I wear day to day. I should really get it looser one. Basically the thing is, this whole story is about being passionate about something, about having a love and investigating it. And people will say, "Oh, I'm not a geek." Anyone out of interest, anyone in this room happy to call themselves a geek?
Sure.
Yeah. That's nice. When geeks get involved, they just put their hand up. They shout out. Good, because the geek, as far as I'm concerned, is just a man or woman who is passionate about something. For me, it's obviously Ghostbusters, but let's just say with you, it could be football. You're a football fan, you know all the players, all the league games, you follow the football team up and down the league, you are a football geek, okay? Simple as that. What about you? You could be into your soap operas, right? And you know all the characters, all the storylines, follow the soaps for years, you would be a soap opera geek, okay? You could even be like a 50-year-old man who has every single Disney film, and you would be a sex offender. Also, it is important you draw the line between geek and a paedophile at a very early age, certainly when I'm doing this show, when you're creeping around in the dark. This is basically, I've done this version of this show a few times before. I've done it like in New York briefly. I did it at part of the show I do in London called Geek Night Out, if anyone's been along to that in its time. And so this is basically, as far as I'm aware, the premiere. In terms of... Save that for the end, you might regret it. So I will be honest, and I do have notes I will be referring to throughout the show, but only because I have now a PowerPoint presentation, which means I am now legit. So where do I start? Okay, so obviously I'm infused and in love with the supernatural. Now, whether I believe in it or not, we'll discover as we go along, but for me, Ghostbusters was the thing. People talk about Star Wars being their big love. For me, it's Ghostbusters. And basically, when you tell a Star Wars fan it's cool to say you're a Jedi on the form, but guess what? You can't have sex if you're a Jedi, so I win. So, where should we start? Okay, so the film obviously had a massive impact on my life. One of the things I like about the film, and films of a similar ilk, is that it has two of the things I love most, again, from Ghostbusters. One, horror, one, comedy. And both basically thematically work on the same principles, in that they're both kind of like telling a story with a twist at the end, which either makes you laugh, go, "Ah, didn't expect that," or go, "Ah, I didn't expect that, see, it's going to be a scary show." So that's one of the reasons why I'm fascinated with it. It's one of the reasons why all the films I have certainly have a horror tinge to them. Evil Dead, Shaun of the Dead, things like that. Anything that balances horror and comedy, I'm a big fan of. Let's go back in time. Let's go back to 1984 when I first saw Ghostbusters, right? And I do remember my first awareness of it wasn't so much the film seeing its surprise, it was the logo. The logo was everywhere, right, in 1984. It's genius marketing, because all it was the logo. That's all it was. It almost started a trend. So basically, if you think of other films like Jurassic Park, where you could see the logo and not know anything else about the film, but you'll recognise the logo, Ghostbusters had the same appeal. And in terms of marketing, that's what got me interested. Oh, what's that? I want to know what that is. And then, like all great stories, going live started my trend and belief in Ghostbusters. It was 1984, and I remember watching Going Live because I had a thing for Sarah Green. I thought that kind of show, but get involved. So I remember watching Going Live, and they had their movie with clips, and I saw a clip on there. The famous scene, which you might be aware of, where you see Simon for the first time, yeah? You know, the whole hotel thing with Bill Murray. Now, I want to show you that clip, because I want you to see what I saw, what got me inspired. However, due to copyright reasons, I'm not legally allowed to show you that clip. So what I have done is I've mucked in and made my own version of it. And so, in a room in Essex, with a few friends, I put this following clip together to give you a taster.
Venkman! Disgusting blob! I'm gonna have to hold it myself. Come in, Ray. Venkman! I saw it! It's right here, Ray. It's looking at me. It's an ugly looking spot, isn't it? I think he can hear you, Ray. Don't move! He won't hurt you! Venkman! What happened? Are you okay?
He slimed me.
That's great! Actual physical contact! Can you move?
Ray, come in, please.
I feel so funky.
Egon! It's Ray! Venkman got slimed!
That's great. Save me some.
Thanks to Richard Simon for that. Obviously, if you ever go see his Perfect Movie Show, it's full of that kind of stuff. Recently, we did Shaun of the Dead because when we went to New York, they said we were the knockoff Happy Shopper version of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. So that was good. So I saw that clip and I was interested because it genuinely scared me. It was like, oh, what happened to Peter Venkman? The ghost, boggled my mind. So after hounding my mum for like 2 weeks, she eventually caved in and let my auntie take me. My auntie took me and my 2 cousins and we went ghost hunting. Now back in the day, you couldn't go in 1984 to the cinema because it was usually one screen and they showed one film a day, and it was like your multiplexes. So when we got there to this showing of Ghostbusters at Birkenhead cinema, the queue was massive. Right out the door, right up the street, long way at the back of it. And we slowly inch forward, and as we let the people in, slowly inch forward. Now I've got a bladder filling up as we go, because I've been drinking lots of Coca-Cola, and we're getting closer and closer to the door, and just as we get to the door, they close them, it's full, you're not getting in. Awesome. So we get in. Well, no, we don't get in. My auntie goes, okay, well, there's a showing up the road in Liscar. We can get there in half an hour. We get into the car. We panic. We go down. And now, I don't want to slow the proceedings up. My bladder's really full, and I'm like 6 years old. And I think I can control this. It's a bladder. How hard can that be? So we get to the next cinema in Liscar, and again, we get to the end of a long queue. Damn it, we're getting closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And again, the doors close in front of my face, as if God is smiting me, right? And my auntie's going, okay, well, right, there's one more cinema. It's in Heswall. We'll get in there now. It's the smallest cinema. We'll give it a go. Because I'm, one way or the other, tears or we is coming out. It's one way I'm going to leak. So we get into the car, we peg it down to Heswall, we get in, and the queue's shorter, we get in, but because of the timing of the situation, the movie's literally just starting as we sit down with our popcorn and everything. So I'm thinking, all right, okay, I don't want to go to the theatre, I don't want to miss a single frame of this movie which is made directly for me somehow. And I sit down, and my bladder's full, and I'm just going to go, oh, you know what, I'll cope. So, you remember the scene where they go to the library, right? And the 3 of them are all like in a huddle, and go, what are we going to do? We've seen this ghost. Okay, I've got a plan. And Dan Aykroyd goes, we're going to stay close, stay close, stay close. get her! And the ghost goes from to, ah! Well, that's when my bladder went, I'm out of here, right? And you think, a splash? No, it was a long, long stream of urine, warm. It was like pouring red wine on warm grass. It was just, oh. So, my auntie dragged me out the cinema, and then, you know, I missed 15 minutes of the film because she's scrubbing pee from my pants. Happy days. So, and it was the beginning of a story of my bowels that, you know, we'll get to that anyway, about my bowels. So that was my, I mean, interestingly enough, when I saw the film on VHS, those 15 minutes that I'd missed was like a director's cut version of the film. I was like, oh, I've never seen that bit before, that's fascinating. So it was a new thing for me on VHS. So that was kind of my first exposure to Ghostbusters, and I became obsessed. I managed to get the magazine, this 75p magazine that I've still got in pristine condition, that is now worth on eBay £4. So I've still got that. But obviously, through the 80s, 86, the cartoon series came out, Real Ghostbusters. It was called Real Ghostbusters because Filmation already had a TV show, a sitcom like Rent-A-Ghost in America, called Ghostbusters. And so when they brought out the cartoon series, they had to differentiate it and call it Real Ghostbusters. Fact! Yes, you're getting them. So and obviously this is where I managed to get the toys, you know, and I had all the proton pack that had a foam wand, you know, to the beam, but my mum took it off me because I beat my brother half sentence with it one day. You got the goggles, the PK meter, broken. Oh dear. And a trap. And this was this is from Ghostbusters 2, obviously it's a slime blower. And what's fascinating about this was it wasn't a big sell, you don't really get hold of this, but it was a big hit with women. I have no idea why. So yeah, obsessed. Every comic book, every cartoon series, I had to have it on VHS. I had tons of VHSs, and it was a big, lovely, warm thing that I embraced and became a part of my life. To the point where I thought around the age of 13, 14, whenever it was I first went to secondary school, I thought I'd set up my own Ghostbusting group. And so me and two friends, yes I had them, set up a group called the Spirit Squad. Here's the logo for Spirit Squad. I drew that myself. I didn't find a red felt tip. That's obviously meant to be the... See what I did? I took the no-go logo and I made it a warning triangle. I was progressive. So what we decided to do was go ghost hunting. And obviously, you're 14. It was basically the amount of ghost hunting we did was we stood outside the old toilets which we thought were haunted and squirted it with a super soaker full of holy water. And when I say holy water, I mean a puddle outside of a church we filled the thing up with. So, you know, but after about a year of just messing about and, you know, wearing rubbish boiler suit knockoff type stuff, a friend of mine said, well, my dad's pub is haunted. We get strange sounds in the middle of the night and it's all, do you want to spend the night? And we were like, yeah. So me and my mate Dave, we spent one night in the haunted room in the pub, which is like 2 floors above. You know, the pub was downstairs, there's a living space, and another living space, we were the very top floor, because there's movements and sounds and all this kind of stuff. Now, we get there and we settle down, sleeping bags out, and up till midnight nothing happens. 1 o'clock nothing happens. The pub closes down, everyone goes to bed. 2 o'clock rolls around, nothing happens. And at 3 o'clock, just when we're about to give up, we hear on the stairwell, like the footsteps, just ever so slightly crawling up the stairs. And we all went, oh, what's that? And I said, well, is it your dad coming to bed? He goes, no, I only have the upstairs thing. I hear this all the time, it's creaky. And the door that was ahead of the room was quite an old door, didn't quite fit the frame very well. So you could see the light from the hallway underneath coming out through the gaps. And then those footsteps got closer and closer and closer to the door. But there was no shadow on the door underneath. There was no on the gap. There was nothing blocking out the light to suggest the idea that there was a ghost walking, or a figure of any kind walking towards us. And then when they got to the door, the sound stopped. And I thought, okay, one of us has to open the door. So my mate Dave, who has no sense, decided to walk to the door and go and throw it open. He went, come on, 1, 2, 3, and it wouldn't open. So I came over, and it wouldn't open. It wasn't locked, the door handle just wouldn't move. It felt like someone was pulling it from the other side, genuinely. And it freaked us out, and then 1 minute, 1, 2, 3, we pull it, the door opens, there is nothing there, and my bowels went. Now I didn't know it then, but it was the inklings, beginnings of IBS. Stress, emotional-induced bowel evacuation. So that was kind of my first experience, and even though it stuck with me, because the problem with when you tell a story like this, is that over time you get your own kind of sense of Chinese whispers. The story devolves somehow, or it changes, and you don't quite know where you made the changes, but over time, it was probably just this. You hear something? No, open the door. It's a bit locked. Open it. There's nothing there. Good night. That might have been actually how it happened. But over time, it's built on my head to this kind of fantasy story. But I still remember the bowel movements. That's what it called. That's the important thing to remember. The bowel movements. So that was my first thing about ghost hunting that I remember. But obviously, you get older, and as you get older, you become more cynical. You become more bored of life. You listen to music that's all Rocky Horror and all this stuff, you know, and all that kind of misery. And you put away childish things. And then about 2009, when I was doing my Geek Night Out show, I thought, because it was the 25th anniversary of Ghostbusters, I would do a kind of retrospective. And what was meant to be a 1-hour show turned into a 2-hour and 14-minute lecture. I'm reasonably sure the length was partly to do with the fact that the same night Michael Jackson died. I just don't know. Yeah, Rob remembers that. That was great. 2 hours and 40 minutes of show, and all of a sudden Rob goes, "Good night, ladies and gentlemen, hope you had a good time. Michael Jackson's dead. Check your phones." Hangs all day. So that's that. What was interesting as well, actually, was when I was doing the research for this 2009 show, I found a review of Ghostbusters, which amazed me, because it was from a website called Christian Family Movie Review. I just want to read it out to you, because it's one of my favourite things. This is the actual review. It's a bigger review, but this is a section of it. It goes, Ghostbusters. Although the film is jolly enough and extols the virtue of peace and cooperation, I sadly cannot recommend this movie to Christians. The film features pagan sacrifice, sexual coercion, and has little or no regard for Christian values or beliefs. I suppose one positive aspect is the movie shows what could happen when you are possessed by a demon, and how the soul can be corrupted. If it's nothing else, it is a warning in dealing with the supernatural, and how you can prevent yourself from being taken by a demon. The characters are all a little too glib in the face of God's wrath, and Dan Aykroyd's character, although charming, is essentially godless. So that was that thing, and also, when I was researching that show, I went through an attic of all my toys and books and comics and toys and everything, and I found an old exercise book, and I couldn't have been more than 7 or 8, and it said, "When you grow up, what do you want to be?" And I put Ghostbuster, because no one told me it wasn't a real job. And I put that away, and that was 2009. Now, in the intimate time between the 80s and 90s, I still had a fascination with paranormal. It wasn't like I was obsessed, but I was still fascinated with it. I would watch, for instance, Ghostwatch. Anyone remember Ghostwatch? Yeah. Now, Ghostwatch, if you don't know, it was a BBC One drama. It was previewed in '93, I think it was, written by a guy called Stephen Volk, who's actually doing a play here next after this finishes up. Stick around. And it frightened the fuck out of me. Genuinely, it got to the point where it affected the audience who were watching it so much that one kid allegedly was so affected he committed suicide in fear. Now, it was basically it was a play, written, scripted, presented, all this kind of stuff, but it was done in a style of like Crime Watch. It was a live broadcast from a haunted house with Michael Parkinson doing a kind of, a commentary, and it gets freaky and it gets all twisty, but it was demented. Scary, scary thing. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you check it out. Now, what it couldn't have been aware of was that it actually started something. It began not only the rules and regulations, of reality TV, because it did. You watch Ghostwatch, and if you watch Big Brother now, or Made in Jersey, or Chelsea, or whatever, it follows the same rule book of reality TV, and also it's brought into life the world of Most Haunted. Have you seen Most Haunted? Yeah. Poor buggers. Most Haunted is a show filmed in black and white with Yvette Fielding screaming in a castle, in a nutshell. And it began with the best intentions. Supposedly Yvette Fielding went on a ghost hunt, was like they wanted to do a very scientific kind of ghost paranormal reality TV show. And so the first few seasons were reasonably quite grounded. It was cameras and things moving, but then it changed. And it became this. And I'm going to show you a clip of Most Haunted evolvement.
Things and scare people. If it is, then show us. Show us tonight that it's really you. Something went down the back of my head. For fuck's sake, I'm not joking you.
Let's go. Get out now.
What's that noise?
What noise? What
cannot make it up the ladder! Calm down!
No, you don't scare me. Don't come near me because you don't scare me. I'm not, tell me. I'm not a bitch, tell me.
That's me. That's me. You're all calm down. Calm down. I've got my back on this door.
She really bolted. Nancy, eventually, calm her down, settle her down, and it took a little while because she really felt as if she'd been touched.
There you go, Most Haunted. I added the hillbilly music, by the way. Right, okay, so as a result, it kind of was a big hit over the water in America, and they made their own version. So I'm quickly going to go through some of my favourites. The big one, the one that's still running 8 seasons, 20 episodes ago, so there's like 100 of these episodes out, is a show called Ghost Hunters, right? Ghost Hunters is basically the same, but without any psychics, and it's kind of more science-based, and it's practically just 2 plumbers with toys in haunted houses. It's like Mario Brothers, but without the mushrooms, and just on that one level in the haunted house. Basically, it's just that. And I want to show you a clip of it, because I want to show you, basically, this is Ghost Hunters.
What the hell? On this episode of Ghost Hunters.
The tops don't melt.
Seems some of the people who work here are frightened.
Something bit me. I could see 3 visible scratch marks down my arm. I don't know if it's old workers, but there's definitely something going on down there.
I just heard something walk behind me.
Whoa, what the hell just moved over there?
That was a big shadow.
Did you see that? Was it like a flickering?
It's him, that's what I hear all the time.
That's the voice.
That's the voice.
And later.
Dude, the rocking chair's moving.
Robert Tinker, his first wife Mary, and then his second wife Jessie. They all passed away in this house.
Robert Tinker, are you here?
Jay, that door just popped open.
Something that is moving between the rooms.
Dude, look, what's that from? Something spit on me.
Guys, there's a lot of movement from this red room.
Never had something like this happen before.
Now, what I want to do at this point is I want to show you a little bit more of that episode, for very good reason. When you watch these shows, you have to imagine that they're filming for 7-8 hours, and most ghost hunts, nothing happens for those 7-8 hours, and they compact it down to 50 minutes for the show, right? Fair play, you could all the guff out and leave what's rest. However, their logic of ghost hunting is so elastic that anything can count as a ghost in this story. So, I want you to look at this evidence and see if they're not stretching the logic ever so slightly.
Is there somebody in the library? Miss Dorr? Are you here? Dude, something spit on me. Look, you see that on my ankle? What's that from? I don't know. I don't understand where it came from. Well, I don't believe in ectoplasm.
What does it just feel like normal water?
Yeah. But there's nothing on the floor.
It's weird.
I was just looking over the balcony here, and all of a sudden I felt wetness on the back of my ankle. I said, Jay, look at my ankle, it's all wet. And the whole back of my ankle right here was all wet. So this is a little strange. Never had something like this happen before. That was crazy.
So we've had a door open, we've had voices.
Something spit on me. Weird.
Now, I'm going to just go ahead and guess that that's not the first time he's been spat at, but we'll move on. So, I was a big fan of these shows. Becky, we'll skip past the Ghost Adventures because basically there's no point. But there's 2 other shows that I do want to mention, and they're fascinating because these shows began a boom. There was Ghost Adventures, which I'll skip past, but it's basically the same format, but the hosts were on amphetamines. It was like, oh, we're gonna haunt ghosts! Yeah, bro! That was weird. But the 2 I really liked, one was called Ghost Lab. And it was, again, 2 guys called themselves experts. They had a van, travelled around America, went ghost hunting. Now, these 2 guys were fat. American fat, right? Bulbous, you know, like Marshmallow Man fat, basically. And there was one investigation where they had to go to the top floor. And one fat guy is going, gets to the top floor where there's allegedly a strangler, and he goes, oh! So it's a ghost, he's crushing my chest! and I'm sitting there going, no, you've confused supernatural with cholesterol. It sounds the same, but not quite. So there's that one, and then the other one was the one called Ghost Collector. Now this is a clever one, right? Ghost Collector is what you do when you take ghost hunters and you marry it with bargain hunts, right? The idea was a ghost hunter would come to this guy's house, look around, see if there was anything like a ghost was tied to an object, like a ring or a picture or whatever, investigate it, and then take it away for his collection in a museum of ghostly objects, right? Now, in the episode I saw, he goes to this place, he sees a typewriter, and the woman goes, yeah, we think that typewriter's haunted. So he goes, okay, I'll take this typewriter, an old typewriter, takes it to an expert. The expert goes, now this is interesting. This typewriter is actually one of the first to use the QWERTY keyboard. It's actually quite an advanced thing, it was brand new. I reckon that's probably worth about $6,000, $7,000 right now. So the guy takes it back to the haunted house and goes, oh, we found it, yeah, it's definitely haunted. Now, if you want the hauntings to go away, I'll take this off your hands. And the person's like, oh, I don't want to have a haunted house. Yeah, take it, take it. And he's like, suckers. And he just walks out. And you think, where does this end? Is he going to walk into someone's house and go, see that high-def flat-screen television? It's haunted. Gimme! Where does it end, right? So, all these shows built in me, and I was kind of fascinated. I was kind of almost envious because I was realising I was missing out on something I was reasonably passionate about and never got to do. It was now popular. There were ghost hunts, you could go on a ghost hunt, ghost walks, all this kind of thing. The supernatural was becoming a big business. And as an aside note, you tend to notice that paranormal gets big when science gets big. And now you can see all these science shows and Brian Cox and all this kind of stuff. Now you've got this also ghost hunters kind of backdrop when they fight as a result where ghost hunting now has become a science, even though it's not. So where are we? So I thought in 2010, after doing this Ghostbusters show, I went back for everything and I saw that note that said, when I grow up I want to be a ghost hunter. And I thought, well, why not? You know, it was a particular time of my life and I was, you know, a little bit crazy and I thought, well, why not? Let's give it a go. So I called up all these ghost and paranormal investigators and hunters and stuff, and I went, hi, I'm a comedian, and I want to go ghost hunting, and I want to hang out with you, and then they hung up on me. I don't know why. But one group, this company called Compass Paranormal, run by Denise and Richard Mott, who are a married couple who run these things, were very kind to me. I said, I'm not going to take the piss, it's about my experience, I'm not here to make fun. I just want to hang out and see what you do. So they invited me along to a place called Ragged School, which is in Stratford. That was the first place we went to. It's an old Dr. Bernardo's kind of poor school where the poor kids who couldn't get an education would go. And on the first experience, the basic setup is you go, you meet everyone else, about 30, 40 people, and you get there from 9 and you're there till 3 or 4 in the morning, okay? And you spend the whole night doing the investigation. The psychic takes you round and goes, oh, there's a ghost. Well, I'm getting a ghost, there's a ghost. And then after a while you get given toys and gadgets and then you're left to your own devices. Now, I love the toys that they give you. Things like hearing enhancers that improve your hearing by 50 decibels, things like that. My favourite is one called the EMF meter, which is one of these. It's basically a real-life version of one of those. Right? It's a PKE meter for pros. The idea is EMF means electronic magnetic field. Damn it, Paul. And electricians use them to check for wiring and fuse boxes and outages because most hauntings can be put away to the theory that if you're in a place with lots of wires nearby, it can fuck up your brain and it makes you imagine things or stresses you out or gives you an sense of unease, right? And so they have to eliminate that by using one of these. So if it peaks at like red or orange, it can either be that there's a ghost nearby drawing the energy in right close next to you, or you're next to a fuse box. It's one or the other. It's a fine line. So I remember getting given one of these, and I've got an EMF meter, hearing enhancers, I've got night vision goggles on, and I'm going. And I'm in this room, right? This massive, it would have been an assembly hall, I think, massive space. I'm in the middle of it, and for half an hour, nothing is happening. Genuinely nothing is happening. There are 2 double doors in front of me, and I'm sitting there going, this is boring, this is not as fun as I thought it was going to be. And then the EMF meter went. Now they turned all the power off in this building and I was nowhere near any fuse boxes. So for it to go like that, I didn't have an explanation for. And then when it went bip, 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 and the 2 double doors in front of me just went BANG! And I went so, you can see a theme coming along here, right? And that was generally scary and a little bit unnerving, and then I went downstairs into the basement, and the basement was allegedly had a poltergeist in there, and poltergeist, if you don't know, which you should, is a noisy ghost. They throw things, scare, scratch, all that kind of stuff. They're physical attacking demons, if you believe that kind of stuff. And I was down there, like the goggles, no one is in this basement with me, and I swear to God, someone threw a stone at me down there. I was sitting there and I hear this clack, clack, and it bounced off the wall, and there could have been something falling, but again, that was another spooky experience. So it was like, exciting. So the next one I went to was a place called the Hellfire Caves. Now, Hellfire Caves is a genuine place. I think it's up near Bury St Edmunds. I can't remember the place right now. The details here was that it was built in 1748 for Francis Dashwood. And basically they built it in a chalk hill directly below a church. So it was on a hill, there was a church on the top, and they thought, fuck you church, we're going to build a Hellfire cave for the Hellfire Club and have orgies and sex parties down there as an affront. So it was designed, the tunnels are designed to be a vaginal opening, the womb and ovaries, and then the deeper canyon was a cock, basically, and the balls area would have been where they had all the parties. It was like the deepest, darkest part. And nothing happened most of the night. We did the walk round. I actually got told off because there were 3 girls there who go to nearly every one of these ghost hunts. 2 big fat girls and 1 thin girl. And I got in trouble because they overheard me call one of them Team 100. Because when they started a line, that's what they looked like. So I'm down in this tunnel all by myself. And the thing is, there are a few people there. There's like a guy doing an EVP readings of his own, an old guy who, you know, brings his own. He brought his own kit of recording equipment and headphones and went off on his own little adventure. And then there was that Team 100 and like a family and all this kind of stuff. And I got to go on my own. So I'm in the deepest, darkest part, 300 feet below the ground. And it's all very scary. And it's pitch black down there. In this case, I do not have night vision goggles. All I have are the earring enhancers. And I'm sitting there in the dark, and then eventually I hear... and I went, hello? Okay, so I'm going along the cold, wet, white chalk walls, and the voice is getting louder. Hello? And then eventually I can hear it say, please stop. But I didn't. I manned up. I crawled along the wall, I got closer, and then I heard it go, please stop. And I went, okay, so I heard a shuffle directly in front of me, and I reached out with a hand, and I felt this icy cold shoulder, and I went, ah! And then a 76-year-old man with hearing enhancers went, ah! Because he was that guy on his own doing his own readings, and he thought I was a ghost coming towards him. And I tell you this for a fact, the saddest sound you will ever hear in your life is a 76-year-old man screaming his last breath. So they actually had to drag him out of the tunnels. What else? Okay, Avenue House. It's in Finchley, actually, not too far away from where I live. Wonderful old place, old house. During the Second World War, RAF people used it for the pilots who were shot down, kind of giving them rest and relaxation, recoup, kind of like a hospital. The basement, however, was where they kept the dead bodies, and they purposely built a tunnel from that basement out across the street so they get the dead bodies without anyone noticing, right? The investigation is like any other. Not a lot happens, the psychic is there to fill in the gaps. I'm down there on my own in the basement. And then 4 girls walk in. 4 reasonably attractive, sexy, young, gigglish girls. And they're all excited, and they see me there, and I'm like, how you doing? And they're like, we've got a Ouija board, we're going to do a thing. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, just fine. I was like, aren't you scared? I went, nah, I've done this. I'm a pro at this now. And then I mentioned the tunnel, and I say, you should go down there. They have activity at the bottom of the tunnel. So this one girl, I'll go, okay. So she scurries down. I'm like, yeah, I'm here. You're safe. Don't worry. It's fine. She's down there. It's 3 friends are there. And I say, call out, see if anything comes. And they went, hello. And within a few seconds, I heard, and I went, ah! Bang! And I legged it. And I went bang through the first door, bang through the second. And the second one went bang, and I went, oh. It was a squeaky door. So I dragged myself back into the basement, and there were 4 girls in tears, right? Shivering. And I was like, you all right? And one girl with the biggest, roundest, manga-esque eyes went, but you left us. So that's that. So what I want to do now is, right now, I want to give you a taste, okay, of what ghost hunting is like. Because you see the ghost hunter show, you think, oh, it's very exciting. It's actually, ghost hunting is actually like this, right? Sitting there in the dark, it's all black. And you're just like, hello. Is anybody there? And then for 2 hours, nothing happens. Nothing ever happens in these things.
Remain seated, foolish mortals. I am an evil poltergeist. I have broken through from beyond the grave to tear your souls apart. Unfortunately, I am unable to perform my supernatural duties due to an accident at work. I dropped a ladder I'd been levitating and broke my ghostly hands. Claims Direct helped me receive over £4,000 from my employer. And with that money, I've been able to hire some home help. This is Nigel, my home help from hell. Without any further ado, let the horrors commence. See me somehow move these books. Shiver in one of my unexplained cold spots. Now, look on in terror as I smash this priceless plate into smithereens! See me smash this plate! Oh, just leave it, Nigel! Oh, epic fail, Nigel. Finally, witness me deliver one of my trademark petty physical assaults. Just do it, Nigel. Yes, right in the face. I'm out of here.
Doing that, one day I get a phone call. I'm doing all these ghost hunts, hanging around Compass Paranormal, like this phone call, saying, "Hi Paul, what are you doing this rest of the year?" And I was like, "I don't know." And she goes, "Would you like to host your own live theatre tour, like Most Haunted, but live on tour?" And I was like, "Yes." How many people have you asked first? They said 6. I said, "Yes, I'll do it." Right? So I got involved in this tour, and the tour's fantastic. Well, I thought it was fantastic because it was like Most Haunted live. Went from theatre to theatre across the UK, and we did basically all the things you do on a ghost hunt, but on stage. Some of the theatres were haunted, some weren't. It's a balance, but basically the setup was we'd have like a Ouija board session where we'd have like people around the table touching a Ouija board, trying to get messages through. The cast was me hosting it. I played the skeptic. I came out and went, I'm here to have fun. Let's all have fun. It's all a bit of fun. And for some reason I became Bruce Forsyth during this whole thing because it was like every gag will do. It was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, we've got our psychic here, Chris Conway. He's a medium, but I like to call him an extra large." And 50 old ladies laughed. Right, that's what I'm playing because the audience was like mostly believers and things like that, and all brought out, and mostly women. And so we had that, and then we had Denise, who was from Compass Paranormal. She was, Denise, there's me, and that's Chris Conway, the psychic, or if you want to use his official term, bullshit artist. And then this guy called Richard Felix, and we went from town to town doing Ouija boards and table tippings and lone vigils and all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay, I want to talk about Richard Felix, because he's a guy from Most Haunted. If you've been aware of this show, I work with him, and I love him. He's mental, but I love him, right? Quick example of how mental he is. He said one day he tried to kill his own turkey for Christmas. And he hung it upside down, as per instruction, with an axe ready to chop its head off. Long story short, he burnt his house down, the turkey survived. What I like about him more than anything else was that when he would come out on stage and do this little speech about the supernatural, what it was to hunt ghosts. And I love this speech, I'm going to do it for you now. Here you go. "Ladies and gentlemen, okay, it's all about ghosts. Anyone know what the word ghost means? Okay, ghost comes from this old Germanic word meaning goister, which means to be frightened of. So if you see a ghost, you're frightened of a ghost kind of thing. Anyone in the audience ever seen a ghost?" And literally all the audience would put their hands up. Okay, "Ladies and gentlemen, anyone in this room ever heard a ghost?" And maybe half of that room would put their hands up. "Anyone ever sensed a ghost, smelt a ghost?" And again, maybe a few more hands went up around the place. And he'd go, "Okay, interesting question. Has anyone here ever had sex with a ghost?" And he swears one night, a guy at the back went, "Yeah! I have! And he stops the show and goes, "Okay, you might have misheard me. Are you telling me, that of all these people, that you have had sex with a ghost?" And the man went, oh no! I thought you said goat." Whether it's apocryphal, I don't know. So the tour began, and I loved it. I really, really loved it. The first place we went to was called it was in Skegness. Skegness is a suicide note on a roadmap. That's what Skegness is. And it wasn't the best place in the world to start our tour, but that's where we began. What was fascinating though was halfway through the first show, I get this message from the director in my earpiece saying, by the way, we've got protesters outside saying we're doing evil work. And I was like, yeah. So, in the interval, I went out, expecting to see a whole line of angry Christian soldiers, you know, with crosses and whatnot. It wasn't. It was 4 old ladies, right? 4 old ladies go, this show is evil, you're doing dark, nasty things. And I was like, listen, if you come inside, I'll give you a ticket, you come inside, you'll see we're talking about the supernatural, we're explaining it, you know, it's a discussion, we debunk a lot of stuff, we're not, you know. And the one old woman, about this high, went, you're disgusting, and spat in my face. And so my instant reaction was to go, it burns! Which worked. So that was that, and then we went to Mansfield a few shows later. And Mansfield had more protesters. But in this case, when we were doing a human pendulum, which is like any kind of divination, but using a human being moving left or right via a spirit to say yes or no, a priest came up to the front of the stage, got down, and started praying. Now, okay, I said to him, okay, do you mind not doing that? And he was like, no, and then started tweeting his anger. And like, no, you can't have phones. So these 2 big bodyguards grabbed this priest and dragged him out of the theatre. And it must be the only time in my life I've ever seen a priest exercise from anywhere in my life. That has to be a first, right? So that was Mansfield. Oh, actually, that also Mansfield was the show where I made a really bad joke. This woman came on stage saying, I'm a white witch. And I was like, where did you do your research? Wikipedia? 50 old ladies laughed at that. So where do we go to? Okay, Darlington. Darlington's got a clip. Darlington was a great show. Very, very active. When I was on stage, I heard a table. And there was no one backstage. Slide by itself, which is kind of weird. The lighting kept fritzing out and it shouldn't have, although that's a technical issue that you can debate till the cows come home. Although, we were filming it on a camcorder at the back. And on that footage, we heard the weirdest sound. Like a weird breathing. And then at the end, this kind of... Now, I'm not going to say this next clip is proof of the supernatural, but I'm going to play it to you now. Then after you see the first clip, it's going to repeat the sound over and over. And we'll just see. Now, the cameraman is moving the camera, so there's no guarantee he's not making the sound, but it doesn't sound like him, and you'll recognise that when you hear it. So let's just play that clip.
Studies and years. I'm not looking forward to watch correlations to your standards with you. Are you standards?
Now we can't explain that, but I can tell you while the camera was stationary, no sounds at all. Weird. First bit of evidence we could film and document that we kept, and I was impressed by it. Until, actually I'll get to that in a sec, the next story I like as well. Again, the whole protesting thing was going around. We went to Lancaster, and Lancaster we got a phone call in advance saying, please don't come to this show, we want you to cancel it. Why? One of our staff here took a picture, and we caught a ghost, and it scared us, cancelled the show. We got to the theatre, we said, well, let's have a look at the picture. So let's bring on the picture. Okay, can you see the picture?
Yeah.
Now, do you see here a ghost, right? Ooh, I did not go through it at this point. Now, our resident ghost hunter, one of the guys who did all the tech, he said, okay, I think I can do that poster. Because there were 2 things wrong with it, he said. 1, that ghost is far too clear. In most ghost pictures, you never get anything like that. Secondly, it is in the wrong aspect. That's landscape, it needs to be portrait. So if you take it as you would see the area. Oh.
Vamp!
Vamp? It's a ghost show, not vampires, dear. So that's how it should look when you're looking at it. There's the chairs, there's the upper balcony, and there's the ghost. Floating like a magician's assistant. I have never seen a horizontal floating ghost in my time. So the ghost hunter goes off and goes, I'll take this picture, goes off stage, comes back within seconds with almost the exact same image, and the staff go, oh my God, that's horrible. And he goes, no, it's a thing for the iPhone called Ghost Camera. You can even do Linda Blair from Exorcist, you can do Slammer from Ghostbusters, but this guy, he went with the ring. So we did the show and nothing happened. Where are we next? Okay, I will go straight Oh, actually, no, I've got so many stories, but so little time. Okay, I'll go on to Inverness. Inverness was one of our last shows of that part of the tour. Great gig. Audiences were packed, we had like 700 people, and it was awesome. Did a Ouija board. And during the Ouija board, we're getting the psychics going, we're getting a young girl in, and she died on the property before it was a theatre, and she liked seeing the plays, and anyway, we did all this thing, and then during the show, I'm going to play the sound now. I heard a little girl go, la la la. And I was like, stop the show, stop. So, did you see that? I thought it came from over there. And the audience went, no, because they all heard it as well. They went, no. And they all pointed at the exact same time to where I was standing on the stage. Now, I had a little recorder. Now, I don't usually record these shows, but for some reason, I wanted to record this show. So I had it on record, and I caught it. And I'm going to play that clip now of the girl voice. You're going to hear a bit of back and forth, and then over this woman's voice, you're going to hear the girl, and then I'm going to loop the sound so you can just hear that. So, let's play that one.
Did you do it?
Was that not someone in the audience? So now what you're going to hear now is just this clip of the voice itself over and over.
Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it?
So there you go. I mean, I am literally not going to stand here and say, that's proof of ghosts, good night, and then go. All I'm saying is that's what we called it, freaked us all out, and it was one of the few examples of the tour where we thought something paid off. So the last show we did in completion was a live outside show in Dudley Castle. We had 1,200 people there, we got rid of the psychic, and we brought in a guy called Derek Acora. So I had to work with Derek Acora and Richard Felix, and they were united on stage, and they called them the Godfathers of the Supernatural. So it was bad enough at first, because Derek Acora has a reputation of being, you know, a con man. And in one episode of Most Haunted, he famously was possessed by a girl called Mary, who missed her lover Richard. And so in the episode, he shouts, possessed, Mary loves Dick! Mary loves Dick! And it became a bit of a laughing stock online, right? And so during the show, I'm getting, from the far corner, these pissed up guys going, hey, Derek, Mary loves Dick! Mary loves Dick! The producers in my ear said, can you kind of shut that heckle up? And I'm like, it's a crowd of 1,200 people. I don't even know who they are, not know where they are, right? So I just went, excuse me, sir. I know you're having a bit of fun and you want to shout Mary loves Dick, but I can guarantee tonight the only Dick we're going to hear from is you, right? And 50 old ladies laughed again. Like, boom, in. So we did that, and also, I just started dating this new girl. She's there now, bless her. And we'd only been a week and a bit together. I thought, hey, come to this show, see me work my magic on stage with a massive crowd. She's a big fan of Derek Acora, and I was like, okay, come along, you can meet him. And she's like, ooh, exciting. So I'm doing my show, and Derek Acora, who was drunk, is off to the side of the stage. Seriously, off to the side of the stage, and he's talking to Becky, right? And I see her face go from, oh, Derek Acora to Derek. And I could not notice it. So when I got the chance to go off stage, I ran over to her and went, what did Derek say to you? And she went, oh, just that, you know, you're very much in love with me, and within a year, you're going to ask me to marry you, and then within 6 months, we're going to have a kid, and it'll be 2 kids at once, and then 1 later. And she's like, because she was freaking out, right? It's when you're in a week-long relationship, the last thing you want to hear is, your life is over now. It's kids and your life is over. So I was like, oh, what do I do? So I was like, oh, don't worry, I'm going to dump you after this. You won't have to worry. Thank you for staying with me. So, we get to that point we're going to wrap up now. Because it's all very well me standing here and saying, oh, you know, I saw this ghost and that experience, and it's all very fun and games. And it's, you know, it has been fun, but when you start talking about the supernatural, there's a problem in that you can go down so many rabbit holes to the topic that I literally don't have the time for, whether hunting ghosts is ethical, whether believing in psychics does more harm than good, whether parapsychology is a waste of time, and whether is looking into the supernatural going to benefit us in any way. Some say yes, some say no. I mean, one of the reasons why I did this was I want to know why other people went ghost hunting. And I got an interesting array of replies. Let me just read these out. Because I was talking to people and it's like, okay, I'll just read it out. It's like, because it's easy to mock people who go ghost hunting. It's like you think it's a bit daft. The thing is, ghost hunting is like any other hobby. In fact, ghost hunting, I say, is a lot like fishing. Very similar occupations because they both involve sitting around for hours doing nothing, and they both involve lying about what you did catch, right? So it's all very fun and games to do that, but a lot of people just say, oh, I want to see the impossible. I want something to happen to me that I can't explain, that gives me a kick, gives me a spark. Some people said they had an experience in their life with ghosts at a young age that they want to chase after now, that they're keen to kind of recapture that experience. Some people said they wanted the investigation to define them. A lot of people were like, if I can become an expert in the supernatural, then I am better than my 9-to-5 job. The idea of spending nights in a haunted castle is better than sitting at a booth doing call centre work. It gives them that. There's also the whole idea about it giving their life meaning, or obviously death plays a huge factor. Like life after death, what happens to us when we die? That's again a massive rabbit hole to go down. I remember going to Portsmouth and doing the D-Day tunnels, these massive tunnels built underground for the planning the war effort, basically. And we're down there, and one woman who has never been to a ghost hunt before was very excited, very keen, asking all the right questions, getting really involved. What does that do? What does this do? Where can we go? What can we do? And I was like, okay, that's nice. She's very keen. But I couldn't put my finger on why she was doing it until I went outside for a cigarette. And I heard her talking to a friend, and she went, yeah, my husband's got like a week to live, and I'm kind of a bit lost, and I don't know what to do. And I was like, oh shit, it all falls into place. She wants to do this. So when her husband dies, she knows he's going somewhere. Or, it gave her something. And you can't point and laugh at that person, because if you think that's ridiculous, that's fine, but some people don't have the answers. And when they're looking, it's hard to say they're looking in the wrong place. And so it came down to, why did I take this journey? And it was fascinating because, again, going back to 2010 was like the best time of my life. I was at the deepest, darkest part of my depression, which was ruining me. I got fired from a job. I had no money. I was living in a small flat. It was driving me insane. I was at the worst I could possibly be. I didn't know what to do with my life. And when I went back over that note, when I was watching Ghostbusters one birthday, and I remember the show that I did and the fun I had, and I found that note that said, when I grew up I wanted to be a ghost hunter. And it was kind of like, well, if I'm not going to do anything with my life now, let's kick myself out of this rut somehow. Let's do something that gets me out of my brain, because they say when you deal with depression, it's always handy to go for a walk or get an exercise or take up a hobby that can distract you, so you're not focused on the darkest, deepest part of your life, that rabbit hole. And so I did it, and I went, and it's interesting because I'm better now. Obviously, we'll see, that's debatable, but I'm better now. But I don't know if I would be as good as I am had I not made that one decision, because that decision made me then go and get help, which made me then go get counselling, which then made me get cognitive behavioural therapy so I could deal with my problems a lot more, which made me meet new and interesting people, which means I got to go on these ghost tours, which means I got to do shows with thousands of people, which means I got to go through all these weird, explainable, unexplainable adventures. It means I got to go to the Mecca land of Ghostbusters fans. I got to go to New York, because I was invited to do a gig out in Boston. I went to New York with Richard Sandling to explore the place, and I was like, I have to see the firehouse, or this ends today, right? And so I saw it, and this is me when I saw the firehouse for the first time from Ghostbusters.
How was that?
It was
actually strangely emotional moment. I actually got really kind of upset. Not upset, but you know, ooh. So, yeah. Oh, beautiful. Perfect. Well, there you go. I can give up liking that film now forever. Perfect job done.
It is about the decisions you make in your life, whether you're happy to sit at home, do nothing, and just do whatever TV tells you, or whether you step over that line and go, I'm going to do this instead. And with me, it was ghost hunting. And with some people, it's dressing up as a Jedi and not getting laid. Well, you know, it's all those kind of things. And you know what was weird? I can tie it all right back to Ghostbusters, because Ray Parker Jr. had it exactly right. He said, busting makes me feel good, right? And it did with me, right? And so that's my lesson. Busting, ghost hunting, makes me feel good. And I'm going to carry on doing it. It's fun, I meet weird people, and I get to tell you all about it. So, on that note, to finish, I'm going to read something out. Because when I was doing this show, I wanted to go with the Ghostbusters and talk to them about, you know, I wanted to get in touch with Dan Aykroyd and Hal Ramis and Bill Murray and say, can you pass your blessing on this? So I wrote this letter to Dan Aykroyd, and it basically said, Dan, I'm a big fan of yours. Cut a long story short, the comedy writer, I'm doing a show about Ghostbusters, how it's affected my life, what it's done, this, that and the other. The reason I want your blessing is because it would mean a lot to me. I'm a fan of yours for years. My solo show is about how your film put me in a career of comedy and writing and horror and you know, blah 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 blah. And I wrote this big gushing letter that was basically an ejaculation in an envelope, right? I waited a month for the reply, and this is the reply I got from Dan Aykroyd. It reads, Paul, Dan Aykroyd is in receipt of your communication dated 28th 2011. Mr. Aykroyd does not own the majority propriety rights to Ghostbusters. A majority of right holders would reach a consensus amongst themselves within the Sony Corporation to determine licensing initiatives. Mr. Aykroyd certainly understands the spirit of your appeal and would personally approve your show if the others did too. If your show is to be performed live and theatrically, then a fee must be paid for using the Ghostbusters trademark graphically or otherwise. The scale of your enterprise, the license fee would not be prohibited. Best of luck in your endeavour. Dan Aykroyd, CC Lisa Garrick, assistant to Dan Aykroyd. So I'm going to take that bit where it says best of luck Dan Aykroyd, and that's going on my poster. Going back to 2009, I did my Ghostbusters show, and at the end of the show, I wanted to end on a song because I'm a hack. And I have this book, Making Ghostbusters. It's very rare. A lot of people would kill to get this. It's an annotated script. You got me this, didn't you, Melody? That's why you're awesome. So, so I got the script, and it's awesome. But at the very back page is a poem Sigourney Weaver wrote for the rap party called The Slime Poem. It's just there. And she read it out at the rap party, and I thought, for the end of the show, why wouldn't it would be cool to maybe write a song, you know, and put a tune to it. So just make a tune of that. So I did it for my solo show, and in the audience was a guy called Anthony Bueno, who was making the official Ghostbusters documentary. He spoke to all the cast, and he filmed my show. And what I didn't know is that he sent that fucking song to Sigourney Weaver without knowing it. And then 2 months later, I get this email, and it says, Paul, many apologies for taking so long in getting back to you. I listened to your tune and thought it was great. If the recording hasn't been completed, I was wondering if you could, at the end, change the lyrics to and you, and you, and you. It's a bit Jingle Silent. And then the whistling can begin. I am glad to give you my approval. Thanks, Sigourney Weaver. Dan Aykroyd can suck my cock. So, I'm going to end on that song tonight, but don't worry, I'm not going to play it live. No one wants that. Because my ukulele broke. But what I have done instead is a friend of mine called Mike Bograve has animated a video to the song, and tonight I'm going to end on that song, The Slime Poem. I've been Paul Gannon, this has been AFO No Ghost, and this is the end video. I thank you.
I'm a little Ghostbuster, Sigourney is my name. This picture cost a lot of bread, so let's hope it makes the same. I played the damsel in distress, and we know what that entails. An icebox put the moves on me, and I woke up in dog entrails. I was attacked by leaping eggs and molested by a chair. Levitated more than once, I think that is fair. Blown away and barbecued, devoured by a tear of pooch. I crawled out of his haunches and Pete Venkman gave me a smooch. I think in every dangerous scene I had some part to play. My thanks and my affection to the special effects. You really blew me away. I've always felt so much support and humour in this crew. To each and every single one of you, I'd like to say thank you. Our cast is an ensemble, Ernie's nice and Anne's a honey. Ivan's always quick to laugh, Bill Aberton and I are never funny. I have a crush on Harold, and Danny is a dream. Moranis is my demon, and Ivan, he always makes me scream. He has me growl and pound and snarl and roll my eyes and more. Perhaps this is the break I need to move into hardcore. I spent so much time laughing in all my scenes with Bill. He's teased me off the method, now my preparation's nil. I think I'm very lucky, movies like this are far and few. I've had a really wonderful time and I'll miss you all, and you.
Photography, bless you. Of course, thank you for coming out tonight. Go home.